Hello everyone, we are back for video 8 in the function operation saga. We got composition writing part 2. Now don't fear, our buddies are back here. F of x equals 3x squared minus 5x plus 6 and g of x equals 8x minus 7. Now there are two other videos dealing with composition, video 6 evaluating, video 7 part 1. If you have not watched those, you may want to watch those first. What I'm going to focus more on in this video is the actual process of composing and really more simplifying when we have a little bit more of a difficult function. It's going to be a little difficult because f of x is now a quadratic, so I just really want to show you how to deal with that and kind of bring your level up a little bit. So we have our notation here, f of g of x. What I like to do is I like to take the notation that's given to me first and I rewrite it in the other notation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look inside the parentheses. Again, take whatever function is on the right, in this case g, and I'm going to write that function g, and again we're evaluating at x. And I'm going to put that in parentheses, take the function on the left, which is f, and that goes on the outside of that set of parentheses. And again, with composing, the way I think about it and kind of what I say to myself in my head is I'm like, okay, what do I know? Working from inside out, what do I know? And I know g of x, which is right there. So what I want to do is I want to rewrite this notation that I just wrote, and I'm going to replace g of x with the actual function of g of x, which is 8x minus 7. Right, so the only thing I've done at this point is just taken something I knew and rewrote it a different way. Took g of x, wrote it as the actual function, 8x minus 7. And then what I'm going to do is, again, something that I might already know how to do. Maybe I know how to evaluate functions. So when we evaluate functions, we take whatever is inside the set of parentheses and we plug it in for all the x's in the function that's on the outside. So I'm going to rewrite function f. And everywhere I see x, I'm going to pause, and instead of writing x, I'm going to substitute in 8x minus 7, which is that function g. So f of x is 3x squared, but again, I'm going to pause. Instead of writing x, I'm going to substitute in 8x minus 7. Maybe I can get the 8 right. 8x minus 7 and squared. And then I'm going to keep going. Now, you have to be careful. I see this often. This is a common mistake. Every x needs to be substituted in for the g function. So it's not going to stay 5x. It's going to be 5 times 8x minus 7. I've been guilty of making that mistake. I've seen a lot of other people do it. So that's one thing you want to be careful of, is make sure every time you see an x, it gets replaced with that g of x function. So we're going to focus in on simplifying here. Okay. This is going to be a little more difficult than that last problem, mainly because of this 8x minus 7 squared. We're going to have to square that. And please don't do what a lot of people do, and is just distribute that square in. That is not how this works. Right, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to rewrite this how you think of a square, which is something being multiplied by itself. So 8x minus 7 times 8x minus 7. Now, you may know how to square it if you're familiar with perfect square trinomials. That's up to you if you want to do that. But if not, we'll go ahead and see what we got to do. Now, also, independently of that, this 5 can be distributed to both 8x minus 7. So I'll go ahead and do that now as I'm writing this down. Negative 5 times 8x is negative 40x. And negative 5 times the negative 7 is plus 35. And then plus 6. Now, we have multiplication in the beginning of this. 3 times 8x minus 7 times 8x minus 7. We can do it whatever order we want. If I wanted to distribute the 3 in, I could. I'm going to go ahead and not do that. What I want to do is I'm going to multiply these two together first. So we kind of did that in the multiplication videos. If you don't know how to multiply these together, you can watch that video 3 and 4. I'm going to distribute in everything from the left side of parentheses into the right side of the parentheses. So I'm going to multiply the 8x by 8x as my first one. So that's going to give me 64x squared. Now I still have this 3 on the outside, so whatever I get when I multiply, I'll put in a set of parentheses. So 8x times 8x is 64x squared, and then 8x times negative 7 is minus 56x. And then negative 7 times 8x. So we just multiplied the 8x by both terms in that right set of parentheses. So now I'm going to multiply this negative 7 by both terms in the right set of parentheses. So negative 7 times 8x is again negative 56x, and then negative 7 times negative 7, which is plus 49. And I'm going to bring all this down, right? Negative 40x plus 35 plus 6. And actually, I could also, if I wanted to, combine the constant terms here. I can add the 35 and the 6 to get 41. So plus 41. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to simplify this whole area right here. Right? I want to distribute that 3 in, and also I can simplify the polynomial that's in the parentheses. So you can really do it whatever order you want. I think it'd be easier to first combine the like terms in this set of parentheses. So that's going to give me 3 parentheses. The x squared is the only x squared term, so there's nothing to simplify there. But I can combine the negative 56x minus 56x, which is negative 112x. And then plus 49, again, the only constant term there, so there's really nothing I can do. I can't combine anything that's inside the parentheses with anything that's on the outside until I distribute that 3 in. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to rewrite this negative 40x plus 41. I don't want to forget about that. Right, and now I'm going to distribute the 3 into this parenthesis. So 3 times 64. So 3 times 64, 192 x squared. And then 3 times 112, which is minus 336x. And then 3 times 49, which is plus 147. And then again, do not forget about that minus 40x plus 41. And now what I want to do is combine like terms yet again. So we have this 192x squared. There are no other x squared terms, so I'm going to write that one. Don't want to forget the 2. However, there are more than one x term, so I have minus 336x minus 40x. So I'm going to combine those two together. Minus 336 minus 40 is minus 376x. And then I have plus 147 plus 41. So that gives me plus 188. And again, this is f of g of x.